What's up, guys, and welcome back to Daddy Dimes Radio. Got a lot to go over today in the MLB and the NFL, and then a quick look in to the beginning of the NBA starting this month. And let's go ahead and dive right into it with the MLB playoffs. As yesterday we had a absolutely crazy game, then another great game, and after Friday's games as well, in the new wild card best out of 3 series that were introduced, only one of these series is going to go to Game 3, which will be played tonight. That's the Padres versus the Mets after the Mets bounce back after getting blown out by San Diego in Game 1. But anyways, let's get into yesterday's crazy game between the Guardians and the Rays, which went scoreless into the 15th. The Guardians would hold the Rays from scoring with runners on first and third. And then the bottom of the 15th, rookie Oscar Gonzalez hits a walk-off homer off of Corey Kluber's slider for one of the craziest games of the season with one of the craziest endings. And the Guardians advanced to play the Yankees in the American League Division Series. Mariners beat the Blue Jays 10-9, coming back from being down 7 runs and getting their go-ahead run in the top of the 9th on Adam Frazier's go-ahead line drive into right field. The Phillies held the Cardinals scoreless 2-0 to kind of upset the Cardinals a little bit, who had a very strong year and won their division. But Phillies will advance into the National League Division Series along with the winner of tonight's game between the Padres versus the Mets. Of course, after the Padres scored, can't remember, it was either 7 or 9 runs off the home runs against the Mets to absolutely dominate them. But then Mets bounced back with Jacob deGrom on the mound to win 7-3. Game 3 of that series will be tonight, and then the division series kick off on Tuesday. And then I'll just go through my current postseason predictions real quick. So we got the Guardians will take on the Yankees. And even though the Guardians looked really good defensively and came through at the end of both games offensively, I just don't think they have the firepower to stay with the Yankees. So I think Yankees win that one. And then Mariners versus Astros, I think will be a little more interesting. Mariners have a little bit more firepower, but I think it's hard to bet against the Astros as well. So I think Astros, Yankees will line up to face each other in the American League Championship Series. And I have Astros beating the Yankees and advancing to the World Series. And then, of course, in the National League, we have the Phillies taking on the Braves. And honestly, I'm going to go with a little surprising pick here. I like the Phillies. They looked really good against the Cardinals defensively. Their offense can be even better against Atlanta. And even though the Braves is a team that I really think, honestly, at the beginning of the season and as we progressed through it, had a chance of winning it all. But I'm liking the Phillies right now. And then my prediction for tonight is the Mets beat the Padres again, go on to play the Dodgers, where I think the Mets can get them. So in the National League, I'm kind of picking 2 upsets in the division series to send division rivals, the New York Mets and the Phillies, to each other in the National League Championship Series. And give me the Mets in that one. Then World Series, Astros versus Mets. I'll take the Astros in 6 to win the 2022 World Series. And then let's go ahead, get into today's NFL games. And we're going to be looking at what the playoffs would be if they happened right now, and then I'm going to be kind of predicting what will change throughout throughout the rest of the season here. As of course, most teams have only played 4 games, but currently the Miami Dolphins would be the number 1 seed in the AFC, followed by the Chiefs, then the Jaguars, and then the Cleveland Browns as your division winners there. Then we have rounding out the wild card teams. It's the Bills at 5, Bengals at 6, Titans at 7. And obviously here, I think the Bills clearly will overtake Miami for that division spot. At this point, though, I do think the Chiefs will earn that number 1 spot in the AFC, followed by the Bills. I'll keep the Jaguars as the division winners, but I'll move them down to 4. And I think the Bengals, who are starting to look better, take that number 3 spot in their division. I think they really start winning now. And then for the wild card teams, I think it will end up being Ravens, Chargers, who are starting to look better last week as well. Ravens at 5, Chargers at 6. And then I like this is tough here. And we got the Browns up there, but I just don't think they can repeat all this. I mean, they could go 5-0 with Deshaun Watson back, which would obviously probably push them into the playoffs, no matter how bad they do the rest of this, unless they literally go 0-7. Tennessee Titans, I'm just not a very firm believer in them, although they're in a weaker division. So I'm actually going to say the Colts, who have been starting to look better than worse. But they just have a stronger team, and I think Jonathan Taylor, when he comes back, will start to look better as well. It's all honestly going to come down to Matt Ryan and how he can, if he can start throwing the ball better. Teams will have to start stop fully focusing on Jonathan Taylor and start focusing on their pass game as well. And then really their defense can do most of the work then. And then if we get into the NFC, obviously the only undefeated team in football, number 1 seed is the Eagles. 2 seed is the 3-1 Vikings. Then Tampa Bay is winning their division. And then San Francisco is winning theirs, surprisingly, after their shaky start against Chicago to earn that 4 seed. Then the 5 seed is the Giants. 6 seed is the Cowboys, who have a big game against the Rams today. 7 seed is the Packers. And honestly, with the way the Eagles are looking, I don't think they'll be the best team in the playoffs, but I think they'll keep that number 1 spot. Packers, they hung with the Giants, and I think the Giants are looking like a real contender now with their win against the Packers this morning. But give me the Packers in for the Vikings at the number 2. I'll keep the Buccaneers at the 3. I think they easily win their division since it is so weak. But then we have a tough one for that 4th division winner between Cardinals, Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks, all 2-2. And honestly, I'll keep San Francisco in there, I think. And then I'll even keep Giants at 5. Actually, I'll move Giants to 6 because they're looking promising, but I think the Vikings have to get that 5 spot with the way they're looking as well. And then I think the LA Rams will earn that 7th spot in the NFC. And now we'll go over my top 5 MVP candidates as of right now through week 4. And I think in no particular order, I'm just kind of rattling off here. I think it's got to be Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson are my 2 quarterback favorites right now. I think Patrick Mahomes could be in that conversation with a win against the Raiders tomorrow that he plays well in, of course. Saquon Barkley wasn't as good today against the Packers, but I think he can bounce back against weaker defenses, and he's probably my favorite as a running back to win MVP, and obviously that's extremely rare. And if a wide receiver were to win MVP right now, honestly, this is tough. Justin Jefferson had that one really weak. I think it was in week 3. He did not do well at all. But he probably will be my favorite right now is Justin Jefferson for most likely wide receiver to win MVP. Honestly, right now, though, I think the number one candidate, give me Patrick Mahomes, because Jalen Hurts he's not going to be able to put up the same throwing stats as Lamar Mahomes. And then Mahomes is going to, I think, win that more valuable because his team is going to have more wins than Lamar's Ravens, who, of course, have had a tough schedule so far, losing to the Dolphins and the Bills. But it's going to be a tough schedule throughout the rest of the season as well in this very crowded AFC. Anyways, let's get into my predictions for today's games. Starting it off, today's what I'm calling the 5 biggest games, one of which already happened, so I might just pick another one down here to do as well. And of course, a lot of these games are live now as it's 12:16, but I have not looked at those scores at all. I'll give you guys a live score check here in just a minute. But Ravens versus Bengals, give me the Cincinnati Bengals, starting to look better. And all they need is just to start getting things to click just like last season, because they are a more talented team than last season, in my opinion. So they just got to get things clicking, which they look like they are starting to do. Cardinals versus Eagles. I think the Eagles stay undefeated here. Cardinals just have too many problems. A lot of talent, but too many problems. We'll see what happens when DeAndre Hopkins is back. But for now, give me the Philadelphia Eagles to continue to look strong. Giants versus Packers already happened this morning. I did have the Packers winning it, as I wasn't quite a true believer in the Giants. But they get another win to push them to 4-1 with a 27-22 win over the Packers. Started off rough, down 10-0, but then Daniel Jones had his best game of the season, probably, and kind of made up for the Packers really focusing in on Saquon Barkley. Then we got Cowboys versus Rams, which is probably the most important game of today, with Cooper Rush still starting for the Cowboys to show if they're the real deal or not, similar to the Giants. And then the Rams need to get a big win here to push themselves above 500. But I'm actually going to take the Cowboys in this one. They've been looking so good, and the Rams just haven't. Obviously, Rams overall the more talented squad, but that Cowboys defense, I think, is really going to shut down what really has been a two-man show for the Rams offense between Stafford and Cooper Kupp. And then tomorrow, Monday Night Football, we got Chiefs versus Raiders in a divisional battle after the Raiders got their first win last week against the Broncos. But obviously, I think Chiefs win this one fairly easily against a fairly strong Raiders team. And then since the Packers-Giants already happened, let's just pick out one more game from the schedule here that could be fairly close or important. We'll go with Chargers versus Browns. That could be good. Give me the Chargers in this one, though. They're starting to look up. Even though Keenan Allen's still out, Mike Williams has really stepped up for that offense. They've got multiple strong tight ends, and Austin Eckler's coming off of his best week of the season last week. And if he can do that again, they should be able to beat a much weaker Browns offense led by Jacoby Brissett. And then just a real quick look into the beginning of the NBA season, which starts on October 18th. Obviously, preseason is already going. And it's been kind of cool with these NBA teams playing non-American teams and stuff like that. But just be ready for that and be excited for all the tanking teams with everyone trying to get Victor Wembanyama, who will see if he is worth all the hype or not. I'm just really excited for the NBA season to start, and obviously we'll have a lot of content coming out here on our podcast for that once it does get started. Really, the only big headline right now in the NBA is Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. He is now taking a few days away from the team. And honestly, I just don't know how this happens. You win a championship, and just 2-3 months later, you're punching your teammate. And I think Draymond will be out of the Warriors next season because he's going to want to get paid more than the Warriors have the ability to pay him with all the stars they're already paying. And obviously, I think Andrew Wiggins is more important to that team than Draymond now with his new defensive abilities, and he's obviously a much better overall scorer than Draymond. But not too much in the NBA right now. Obviously, a lot will get going here. October 18th, save that day on your calendar. But that's going to do it for today, guys. You guys can go ahead and go enjoy